Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to a new video. First of all, my hair is looking kind of wild and crazy today because I just washed it. I have no products in my hair. This is just my natural hair, air drying. So if it looks kind of wild and crazy, sorry. I didn't have any time to really put any products in it. So last night I came across this video and I wasn't sure if I wanted to do a compilation video of different, stuff that I've come across online, or if I wanted to do a full video solely on what I saw from this clip. And I decided to just do a full video about this clip because it's just way too important not to talk about on its own. It really blew me away and it was heartbreaking, but it was also so informative at the same time. So just to set it up, this is a clip of a woman biologically who transitioned into being a man for 8 years. And this transgendered man is now realizing that the grass wasn't greener on the other side. And in the video, they're talking about the pain that they feel and the hurt that they feel because although they are physically a man, they look like a man, they sound like a man, they live as a man, they still internally in their heart and their mind are a woman. But they cannot live their life as a woman or get the things that a woman needs because they're living as a man. And so there's just like crazy conflict of pain and hurt. It's a whole mess. The reason why it really struck me is because we hear so often from the gender ideology, what I call cult, that there are no regrets, right? That detransitioning is not real, that it's just a very small group of people, that majority absolutely are happy once they change themselves on the outside. And the elephant in the room is that there are many people who realize that after transitioning, nothing really has changed. Their pain is still there. And in fact, it's now worse because now they're living as a different gender, but all of the pain that they had when they were still a woman or a man carries with them to their new identity. That's what the gender ideology cult does not want us to talk about. Because if we talk about it, then all of a sudden it brings doubt to this whole ideology movement and this whole push that transitioning is the key to everything when it comes to this confusion. And it's just not true. And so yes, it's an uncomfortable topic to talk about. It's an elephant in the room, but just consider me the elephant because we are talking about it today. So without further ado, let's watch this clip together. Let's dissect it together and then talk about it. It's a powerful one. All right, I got it all queued up and ready to go.
Nobody told me how lonely being a man is. I had closer friendships with random women I met in the bathroom before I transitioned at clubs because of how open women are than I've had in my 8 years of transitioning. Because women are just so much more vulnerable and deep than men. But to have known, and I think a lot of trans men feel this, is we knew what depth felt like before we transitioned. We knew what it felt like to have people want to hug us. And to have people want to talk to us. And to have a community. And then you transition and you're just a guy walking down the street that people cross the street so that they're not near you. And friendships are so much harder to build. And people are colder. What's hard is none of this invalidates how real and raw women and people who are in marginalized groups feel about cis white men. All of that's valid. But I also now understand why the suicide rate is so much higher in men. Because this shit is lonely. And I'm an emotionally mature man. I know how to build friendships, and it is still really, really hard. Try to think about how you can, in your small little community where you feel safe, can reach out to the men in your life and just help them feel maybe seen for a moment. Or do little conversations to help their emotional maturity so that they can reach out to people and have deeper guy friendships.
So I apologize. It does kind of abruptly end. But wow. I don't know about you, but that was so difficult to watch. That was heartbreaking. That was absolutely heartbreaking to watch because what you're seeing is the breakdown of a person who, in my opinion, bought into a lie, was sold a bill of goods. Now they're living this life and they're realizing that nothing really has changed. In fact, it's gotten progressively worse for them because they thought that being a man was going to change everything, was going to fix all of their problems, was going to fulfill the emptiness that they had in their heart. And what they're realizing now is that that was just a band-aid that was put on their wound, a very colorful rainbow band-aid that really didn't heal anything. In fact, it made it worse. And the reason being, in my opinion, is because we live in a society now, you guys, where medical professionals are more concerned with affirming their patients that are dealing with dysphoria than treating their patients. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I believe it's because there is a financial gain in having a person transition and go through all of the medical transitioning steps. A lot of money. Hormones, shots, surgeries, top surgery, bottom surgery. The list goes on. It is a business. And sadly, I think that the business side has taken precedent over actually healing these people. The sad thing, though, is that the gender ideology cult pushes this message and this agenda that how you feel is all that matters. That if you feel like the opposite sex, then you become the opposite sex. And that includes mentally, emotionally, and everything in between. And that is a lie. That is not true. If that was the case, you wouldn't see so many cases like this where a person transitions and they still feel empty and sad and even worse inside because they thought that changing the exterior was going to fix the interior. And it didn't. It only complicated it. And it's a sad story. It's so sad to watch because this is avoidable. But unfortunately, we live in a society today where to say the obvious is offensive. To ask questions is offensive. To say, wait a minute, I know you want to transition because you think transitioning is going to fix your internal issues, but what if something else is happening? What if you feel this way because of a traumatic incident in your life? What if you're just confused? Is that a possibility? But it seems like asking those questions makes you a bigot because you're not honoring how a person feels in that moment. But when you only honor what they feel in that moment, you're not thinking about the long term. You're not thinking about the person who's been transitioning for 8 years, who now is dealing with the repercussions of having to live their life in a society where they're lonely. Because guess what? Men do struggle with emotional connection. That's something that we just struggle with. It's just inherently in us. We are not as emotional as women. We are not as inept to talk about our feelings like women do so freely. And by the way, it's why I believe women live much longer than men, because women don't have the same type of stress that men have, because women are allowed to feel. They are allowed to express themselves and to connect with each other and to have real intimacy with each other emotionally. That is something that is lacking with men. We just don't have that. It's not as prevalent. It's not as socially acceptable. It's harder to do. It's harder to express ourselves. And so, unfortunately, this woman trapped in a man's body is now dealing with the fact that this privilege that men supposedly have is not exactly true. And it's kind of interesting because, of course, they had to make the whole, I'm not trying to invalidate that cis straight white men are a problem. I'm not trying to invalidate that. Okay. They have to say that because that's part of the script. And I think they were afraid that if they said that isn't exactly true, they'll be going against the cult scriptures that states that cis straight white men are public enemy number one. Okay. It's just sad. It's just sad to watch this person crumble because they bought into a lie. What if when they were going through their confusion and they were going through the worst of the worst when they were still a woman, what if they got treatment instead of affirmation? What if? That's a fair question. It's a fair question. It's one that you can't say out loud because you get in trouble, but I'm going to say it because I don't care. What if we actually treated people instead of just affirming them? Rather than treating that anguish and treating those issues and treating that confusion, we live in a society that says, just be a boy, just get surgery, just go on hormones, you'll be good. Once you're a man, you'll be so much happier. How many of these women dealt with some type of trauma in their life, which caused them to think that they should be the opposite sex? And what if those women were treated for that trauma as opposed to being affirmed to be a sex that they were not born as? I'm just asking. Because I'm thinking about the future, right? And the problem that I'm seeing is that we have so many adults who are more concerned with being validated and feeling validated, which is why there is this push to indoctrinate children. Because if you indoctrinate children, those kids are going to grow up into adults, right? And they're going to have the same mentality that the adults that trained them have, which is there is no gender. And we know that that is a dangerous mentality to have. But these adults that are teaching this garbage to these kids are more concerned with being validated and are more concerned with indoctrinating the next generation because they're selfish, because they're thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about those kids. They're not thinking about their safety, their health, their mental health, their emotional health, their physical health. It doesn't matter. If you tell me at 7 years old that you are non-binary, that makes me as an adult who's non-binary feel validated. It's wrong. On so many levels, it is wrong. And the adults are failing this generation. Teachers, doctors, professionals. Everyone's buying into this mentality, and nobody's talking about this side of it, the regret. Because even if this woman decided to detransition and go back to being a woman, it's not going to be 1, 2, 3, because her voice will never be the same. The exterior will always resemble that of a man, because for 8 years, she's been a man. So think about that mental anguish as well, of having to detransition and dealing with all of the pain and all of the physical trauma that you put yourself through, and now you have to undo that and unpack all of that. Like, it is just not an easy life. And I really, really feel for this person. I really do. You know, like, society failed them. Society absolutely failed them. And now they have to live in this world of mental gymnastics of trying to still affirm what they did so that it makes sense, but also dealing with the reality of the situation, which is that they're not happy. And they're also realizing that this privilege that men have is not exactly true. And that, yes, a lot of men deal with loneliness. A lot of men deal with suicidal thoughts. A lot of men deal with feeling empty inside. It is a real thing. And unfortunately, you now are living that life because you chose to live that life. And now you are struggling with the back and forth tug of war of, I know what I look like, but I also know what I feel like. Biology matters. Biology matters. How you think, how you feel, how you process is linked to your biology. It doesn't go away. They don't want you to know that. The gender cult does not want me to say that, but I'm going to say it. It matters. And this is why it is so important to find a doctor who is willing to treat your child and not affirm your child. Because that affirmation is going to lead to a life of loneliness, of despair, and of a whole lot of regret. And that's what the left is trying to bury. Because this type of story completely shakes their entire foundation. Well, that's it for today, guys. I just wanted to share this clip with you because it really touched me. It really shook me, you know, like, it's just sad. It's just so sad. All I can say is if you're a parent, be diligent, ask questions, dig deeper. Don't just affirm. Please don't just affirm. Think of your kid's future because you don't want them ending up like this woman. If you enjoy my content, please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit my notification bell so you know when I post a brand new video. I'm going to try to post at least 1 to 2 videos a week, so stay tuned for that. If you guys want to also connect with me on other platforms, you can follow me on TikTok and on Instagram under CurlyBoyChuck. Send me a DM and let's connect. I have a PayPal as well as a Cash App. Link will be in my description. All proceeds will go back into this channel. Until next time, peace.